Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars Andor video. I say we've got about a week of these left, and on that note, if there's a topic you'd like to see me address or answer on this channel, make sure you leave it down below, and if you think it's a good video topic, include the hashtag Andor. That way I can find your guys' questions and whatnot all in one place. So with Andor's truncated second season, which was initially meant to be 4 seasons, many fans felt certain plot threads were left unanswered. We're going to talk about some of those on today's video, while also discussing a few of the missing or otherwise canned scenes which we do know about. And let's talk the big one, Parn. This is one of the most interesting pieces of cut content from Andor's second season that I'm aware of. So according to Tony Gilroy, they envisioned a scene where Parn would confront Mon Mothma. He'd reveal that he'd known the secret of her double life and, despite constant interrogations by the Empire, had always kept her faith. He'd been waiting for her to trust him, with the idea being that Mon Mothma, upon leaving Coruscant, has to also live with the fact that she's essentially pushed away someone who she clearly did love at one point and who was waiting to be brought into the fold. I need to think about this more, but this is one scene I think I would have liked to see in the show. Maybe not exactly in this form, but one of Andor's greatest strengths has been the way it elevates what in lesser shows would have been side characters. Now, I understand why this was cut this season and had to fit a lot of content into a short period of time, and that will largely be the theme of this video. And I think without extra context, Parn's quote-unquote redemption would feel a little unearned. But Parn is clearly a more complex character, and last week I shared an excellent video by my friend Corey. I'll link that up above. The degree to which he needs redeeming, you can argue. It's clear, however, that he's benefiting from Imperial society and has no outright desire to change it, but from what I see in the show and also reading Mask of Fear, the tie-in novel, it does to me feel like he does know what's going on and is playing a part in Mon Mothma's political charades. Either way, it's clear Mon Mothma sacrificed her family for the cause, and I think the idea that there's more to Parn than this drunk socialite, something that's been simmering there the whole time, makes Mon's ultimate decision to discard them even more interesting. So, like I said, it's a scene that I think could have been really interesting, but I also don't know what you cut from season 2 to make it work. But I feel like if any character could have used a bit more juice in this season, it was Mon and her family. Anyway, let's continue. When I asked this question on Twitter, what moments do you think Andor should have expanded on, one of the most common answers was the subplot involving Cassian's sister. And it's kind of funny because, yeah, the search for Cassian's sister is what actually kicks off his entire journey, at least within the show. It's implied in season 1 that Cassian's sister was probably dead. Obviously, he has the dream of her in the finale before going off on his final missions. But I will say, although I definitely understand where people are coming from, this to me is a thread I'm happy they didn't pull on too hard. Tony Gilroy actually touched on this, saying that Cassian's sister was more useful in her absence. In season 1, he wasn't sure how that plot element would play out, but as he understood more of Cassian's character, and really as he developed more of the character, he realized that the loss of his sister was really a motivating element for the fact that, for example, he's always going back to save people. How Bix, for example, never doubts that he will return to save them from the Empire during the first arc. And yeah, he's always rescuing people when he can, whether Bix or Clea. On a related note, another arc that was touched on in the show but not fully explored, which I'm thankful for, is the founding of Yavin, and this is also something that Tony Gilroy spoke about. Yavin is cool, and you can't get around using Yavin. It's there from the very first Star Wars movie. But with a show like Andor, an increasingly serious project with more logical characters and grounded situations, Yavin as a planet doesn't necessarily make sense, and that's part of the reason why, Tony Gilroy explains, they didn't go too deep down that rabbit hole. If you have to explain how people are coming and going from Yavin at will, and the Rebel Alliance has been there for some time, you're going to have a tough time squaring that with what we've seen to be a relatively competent ISB. I mean, we see Cassian several times just take ships and leave. Not exactly the highest level of security. But I mean, I think that's an element of Andor as a whole. You've got a universe which, and I don't mean this in any way critically, is often more about the style and aesthetic of something than truly the logic of it, even within the universe itself. So when we have Andor, which again is more grounded, some of those cracks become a bit more obvious. Moving on though, a pretty common thing people said was missing from the show was the development of the Rebel Alliance as a whole. We really don't see a whole lot of Saw Gerrera after the second arc, for example, despite his very memorable last scene. We don't see how the different rebel groups came together, even ignoring the founding of Yavin. We don't see how Luthen continued to fall out of favor with Alliance High Command, nor do we get a look at really what the rest of the rebellion looked like. And yeah, that is a pretty big missed opportunity. Obviously, it's called Andor, not Star Wars Rebels. That exists and tackles some of those ideas, but it would have been really nice to fit that into season 2. People complain a bit about the format with the time jumps, but I do feel like that could have actually benefited the founding of the Rebel Alliance more. Just like how I think it benefits the Gorman Massacre. It's not realistic for the massacre to be planned, stoked, and then to happen within a week or a few days, but over 3 years, sure, the same thing could have worked with the Rebel Alliance, and I do think having even an extra episode for each arc would have helped give them more time to work on everything like that. Anyway, I just want to end this off with one of the big, I think, obvious missing pieces, Palpatine. Palpatine is referenced. He's the one who has led the galaxy down this dark path. You could say maybe the galaxy was sliding into authoritarianism anyway, but Palpatine certainly sped things up and took direct control. Personally, though, I'm glad he wasn't included. I think the show works better with him as this almost otherworldly force propelling the galaxy in one direction. This untouchable evil head of the Empire. Like, you see some bad guys and some very powerful people in this show, but still, compared to Palpatine, they're just ants, and I think the show wouldn't really have benefited from including him, except for the fact that I would have loved the opportunity to see Ian McDiarmid take some Andor-level script to the house. I think that could have been really, really fun. He's a great actor, and they could have done something cool with it. They really could have. I also just think it would have been interesting in a show so grounded to see something as wild as the Emperor. But those are my thoughts. Otherwise, TIE Avenger, where were you? See you guys next time. And again, any questions you have, leave them below with the hashtag Andor, or if they're not about Andor and just general, hashtag AskEck. Bye-bye.